So you're telling me you met the guy who delivers death to every doorstep, and you survived? Look, he doesn't just show up in a UPS box. He shows up in mailboxes, birthday boxes, food boxes, toolboxes. This guy is nothing but a killing machine.
Breathe, Franklin, breathe. Okay, I'm gonna let you know what happened. I was down at the docks delivering a pizza. Hey, I think this is Industrial Drive. I got a pizza for Mr. Jax. Oh.
Who sent you here?
The pizzeria. Pudgy's Pizzeria. Oh, hey.
Boys, get rid of them.
How about this? I'll give you guys the pizza for free. Maybe I can even throw in some of Pudgy's famous cheesy breadsticks on the house.
Were you scared?
Those goons, man, they were terrified. But me, you know I kept my cool.
You got me into this. You're gonna get me out too.
I would love to help.
Just step on it, kid.
Well, you're not gonna be delivering pizzas anymore.
Well, you're gonna have to take that up with my boss.
Say another word, and I'll...
Alright,
So you're telling me you met the guy who delivers death to every doorstep, and you survived? Look, he doesn't just show up in a UPS box. He shows up in mailboxes, birthday boxes.
Alright. Hi everyone. First of all, just checking audio levels. I think we're good. Alright, so hi everyone. My name is Christina and I'm a texture and look development artist at Rising Sun Pictures, located in Adelaide, Australia. I'm also a judge for the Rookies Awards 2020. So I'm really excited to be doing this new interview series with the rookies. I'll get to be meeting the finalists and the runner-ups of the Rookie Awards 2020. Really excited to be meeting Jeremy this week. He's the winner of the 3D animation category and the creator of the Box Assassin, which was an absolute standout entry. It blew all of the judges away. So Jeremy, before we talk about your entry and amazing stuff you're doing now, can you just start by telling us a bit about yourself and how you got into 3D animation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be part of the contest in general. I think it's cool what you guys are doing and creating space for students to connect and submit their work. So huge props to you all for doing that.
All right.
But yeah, so my name is Jeremy Schaefer. I basically got started in animation way back like in middle school. And so I kind of started on a path of filmmaking and really pursuing that. And it's interesting because computer animation, I think, is a kind of a blend now of just like technology and like filmmaking and like a lot of traditional things. And so eventually I kind of found my way into that specifically, and I found my way specifically into Ringling College of Art and Design. And so after I got to Ringling, I really started to focus on animation, even though before that I really had been interested in a lot of film stuff. And so I kind of went to Ringling and got interested in that, and so just focused while I was at Ringling of just building a solid foundation and like fundamental art skills, like drawing, like color, all that stuff, because at that school, the first year is all focused on that. You know, you don't touch your computer or anything. The first year is just focused on art fundamentals.
Yeah.
And then after that, you start getting into CG and stuff, and so it all kind of builds up to, like we talked about before, we went live of making a senior thesis film, and so that's when I made The Box Assassin.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that because, again, it's like a lot of people are focused on animation or modeling or certain things, but in your senior year, you get to focus on making a film. You get to storyboard it out and do all that stuff. So I really enjoyed that process and seeing it through. And so after I made the film, you know, there was a whole virus thing that was happening. I guess it's still going on, and that affected the school and whatnot. But so there were still some people hiring, and so actually I got in touch with DreamWorks, and we were working on it for a long time. But finally, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we pulled the trigger, and so now I'm currently in LA.
That is
working
so
at-
cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm really excited. So yeah, now I'm at DreamWorks as an animator. I'm finishing training and all that, and hopefully gonna hop onto some work soon. So I'm really excited to be here.
No, that's so exciting. No, we were all absolutely stoked to hear that you got picked up by DreamWorks. Like, small wonder, like your work was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So I guess chatting about your school, you said it was a 4-year degree. Is that
Correct. Yeah, Ringling's a 4-year school, like bachelor's degree. I don't know. I don't even totally understand what I got, but yeah, it's a 4-year school, and so yeah, the way, like I kind of said, the way the school is structured, first year is like fundamentals in art, drawing, all that. You kind of touch animation. You do like traditional animation the first year, but then yeah, the major I was in was computer animation, so it's kind of a general school in the sense of with a lot of the coursework, it's kind of project based. It's for this project, you're going to do an animation of a character like sitting up and standing down.
Yeah.
But it's not like maybe an online school where they're like they give you a rig,
Okay.
you model the rig, or you model the character, rig it, texture it, and then animate it. So you kind of do everything. You get you know, the whole pipeline experience. So
Yeah.
I
Wow.
like, you know, that's, some people want that, some people don't, so that's just something to be aware of. But for me, again, like I was really excited that it was building up to making a whole film. And you got to use the genre, or no, I shouldn't say it, the animation medium to make a film. So I think a lot of people that are just looking to animate and they don't want to light, they don't want to texture, they don't want to model, you know, Ringling's maybe not a place that
Yeah.
they like as much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I would tell anyone that it's good to be aware of other parts of the pipeline. Like I'm sure you've seen in your job that just like when you're talking with other people, it helps to know like how everything works. So that's kind of how the school is structured, and some people like it, some people don't. I'm not going to choose a side. I'll just let people know kind of how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah, no, like it's definitely really important to have an understanding, especially the departments directly before you and after you. Like
Right.
I find that really important in the industry, so I think it's great.
Right.
So like you obviously can perform like all of the pipeline extremely well. What made you decide to sort of niche in animation?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because yeah, early on, I wasn't sure. I was really just open to anything, and I think like my sophomore year, I got a response from a company on like texturing and surfacing, and so I was like, oh, maybe I'll do this. But I knew that, yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, it's totally fine, and like I still think it's super cool. But like eventually, you know, after spending more time at the school and doing it, I realized I was like, I don't know if that's the path I want to pursue. And so for me, it was just like with animation, I think it's just like what excites you the most. It's like, what do you, at Ringling, you know, you're working on these different things. At what point of the project do you like get the most excited about?
Yeah.
And for like me, I really do like all parts of the process. I think they're all fun, and I think it's all cool to see it come together. But I think animation was like, I think A was like, I don't want to say it was the most challenging. Like all the other things were easy, but like animation really gives me a headache sometimes. And so maybe
can
that,
imagine.
maybe that, yeah, well, maybe that like, you know, kind of makes it feel like, oh, then you shouldn't do that. But at the same time, like I really enjoy it, like the
Yeah.
problem solving and the acting, and also once we started to study it and we talked about, you know, in class, teachers would break down shots and they break down maybe reference or something like that. Like I found it really interesting, all the care and like thought that went behind a shot, because that was something that I was really unaware of before going to school, of just how much time is put into each shot as far as like acting
Oh,
choices.
so
And
much
that goes-
time.
Yeah, but that goes to every department too, like surfacing, lighting, layout, everything. But you know, animation again, I was like, I think this is something I really want to jump into and
Yeah.
take the time to learn more about. And I think it's also just the storytelling aspect of acting and all that also interests me. So
Yeah,
I think
just
that's
bringing
why
it to
I
life.
focused. Yeah, so I think that's why I focused on it. But again, I think they're all super cool. So yeah.
No, I'm super glad that you're able to find a job in the industry and the path that you really wanted to get into. So well done.
Yeah, no.
Tell us a bit about what you're doing now.
Well, with DreamWorks specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm animator at DreamWorks like feature because they have a TV side too, and they do a lot of cool shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm on the feature end, and I'm working. I'm gonna be going into like I think like marketing kind of like
Yeah.
side of it, kind of commercial stuff. So I'm really excited about that because it's kind of a nice ease into the whole like pipeline and just like the industry in general. But like at the moment, I'm just training at DreamWorks, so they have
Yeah.
a proprietary software. They don't use Maya, and so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
having yeah. So specifically for animation, I think they use Maya maybe for other parts of the pipeline, but for animation, they have their own software. And so I've been trying to, learn that, pick that up. But it's really cool
Oh,
because
wow.
like it's specifically made for animation. So it's not like Maya where there's a bunch of other tools and like all that. Like everything in the software relates to animation specifically. And also, it's been pretty well optimized. So when you're working, it's always like full real-time playback. You don't ever have any lag or anything like that. So that's really cool from an animation perspective. But yeah, I'm just training now, getting familiar with all that. And then after that, I'll go on to starting to get shots. And
Yeah.
something interesting about DreamWorks is like the way they handle their shots and like sequences as far as the studio. Like a lot of other studios, they assign shots to animators, and it's
Yeah.
each animator gets this shot or that shot, but DreamWorks usually gives like a chunk of shots or a sequence.
Oh, okay.
And so that's really cool because you get a little bit more ownership over like a little part of the film. And it's also interesting because, a lot of times a shot, it overlaps and there's like an over the shoulder and there's kind of a little like moment going on inside the film. And so it's cool because the animators get to kind of craft that part.
Yeah.
And I think that's something cool about DreamWorks that I wasn't aware of really before starting here. So that's exciting too. But,
So
yeah.
did you find that, I mean, as you were saying, like, you're saying that DreamWorks have a lot of their own software and things like that you had to learn on the job.
Right.
How did you find, I guess, the transition from being like in study to moving to DreamWorks? How did you find that transition? Do you feel like the school adequately prepared you and you had all the skills you needed to learn on the job?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question because I mean that's exactly what I'm experiencing now, and I think yeah, like the software and like the transition hasn't been like terrible for me. Like I
Yeah.
haven't been super overwhelmed at work, like scared of the software. In general, I think there's a lot of similarities, and that's just like things in general. Like a lot of people when they're first getting into 3D, it's like, oh, do I choose Blender? Do I choose Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, Maya?
Yeah,
When it's just like
it's not important.
it's not important really. It's like I had the same questions when I was starting out and I tried all the different softwares, but also something I realized since that time is like I tried out a lot of different softwares and I did a lot of different things, but I was also just really interested in that. So I did get familiar with a few different softwares, and then I would jump between them and I'd be like, oh, they're all pretty similar. I might use the same lingo, like so it hasn't been terrible, and I think that's a part of it is just like jumping into something and getting familiar with it, and it's all just a tool. Software is a tool, and so I think having that mindset has helped a lot. Because I'm like, Primo, that's the software that DreamWorks uses. It's not going to create like better animation. It's not going to make me a better animator, but like some of the tools might help me do certain things a little faster. But like at the end of the day, it's just a tool. So I think when I treat it with that mindset, like I think about it differently. I'm not like scared of it or something. I'm just learning another tool. But again, like the tool is very similar to Maya. Like they have a graph editor, they have the same buttons. So I think it's just really, if you're in a role, like I think it depends what role you're in. Maybe if you're in a more technical role, being very aware of all the software and all the technical things is very important. And I think it's important for an animator as well, but at the same time, you don't want to get so distracted on like all the latest tools, all the latest stuff. You got to make sure you're focusing on your craft as well, and like animating and just like those foundations. But being aware of the technical aspect definitely helps. But hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's just like I think some people just get too focused specifically on
100%.
technical. So I think just making that balance will help you moving forward. You'll be able to jump into a new studio and adapt to whatever they're doing easily.
No,
So,
that was actually something I was going to ask you about. Like, what advice would you give someone either entering the rookies or going into the industry for the first time? So I guess apart from the skills themselves, there's a lot of like attitude and things like that as well. You're saying.
I think so. Yeah, I think in general, like I know, like again, early on in my journey, like when I first got into art filmmaking, I really focused on the technical things. I really focused on finding a tutorial that would teach me to like do the thing that I wanted to do. Um, and then eventually, like I think the way I kind of got out of that mindset was I got in contact with this person online, and they were kind of mentoring me and helping me. But he was just like, you know, I was asking him questions. I was like, how do you model this plant in this in here? And he was like, do you know how to draw it all? And I was like, no, like, why do I have to draw? Like, just tell me how to model this plant in ZBrush. And so he identified my issue, which was I was
Okay.
focusing on a technical like problem. I was just trying to solve this thing. I was just trying to like follow a tutorial versus studying the foundations of like
Yeah, very
art and
important.
color and like, you know, he was like, do you have a sketchbook? He's like, just start like drawing from life. And like to this day, like I don't draw a lot now, but just that like I did a lot before school and
Yeah.
at school, and that helped me build kind of a just a basic foundation.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good just mindset in general for like students, people going into
Yeah.
studying this is just to be aware of the technical things. Like the tutorials help me. I've watched hundreds of tutorials. Like they're very helpful, but don't get like too focused on that.
Yeah.
As in like that's how you gotta focus on the fundamentals, and you're gonna have to put in some time to get all that stuff there. So it's just a balance of that. But yeah, I'd say that's a good jumping off point.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic advice, and it's actually the same advice that I give my students as well. So
Really, that's awesome.
really good
Yeah.
work. So Jeremy, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your entry as well.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think it stood out to me because it was just so fun. Like it was just
Thank you.
it was yeah, apart aesthetically beautiful. The story was fun. What inspired you to enter the Rookies, and what inspired you to create this piece?
Yeah. Well, I've been following the Rookies for a few years now. I think maybe 3 years. I think I heard about it like in my sophomore year, and I didn't submit then. I just was aware of the contest. I don't think I had anything to submit then. I was just like, oh, I want to like enter this contest because I saw, there's a lot of cool student work being entered, and so I think that's the biggest, inspiration for jumping into the Rookies is I just saw lots of cool stuff being submitted there, and I wanted to be a part of it. So um, that's the main reason for doing that. And so with the film, it was like, we have to create that film at school. So, I mean, I knew that was coming up, but I knew that, I got to be working on a film idea and like, what are we going to do? But we had that pre-production time. Like I told you earlier, there's a semester of pre-production where you're, brainstorming, you're pitching ideas to the faculty there, and they're kind of helping you hone in on an idea to work on for your last year. And so for me, it was a long process, and it was a little scary, but it's in the end at the school, you're supposed to have two ideas. And from those two ideas, the faculty help you choose one to focus on and make. But at the end, I had two ideas, and I looked at the two ideas and I was like, I don't love either of these two ideas. And so I asked the faculty, I was like, can I do a third idea? And they were like, why would you do that? And I was like, come on, like, I knew that whatever I did my senior year, I really wanted to love it because I'm going to be working an entire year on it. I was like,
Very
I gotta
important.
love something that I'm working on, super late at night. Otherwise, I'm just not going to have the passion.
Yeah.
So I think that was something I really, pursued. And I think it's something that paid off because, even to the last minute of the film, I still enjoyed working on it. I still wanted to, it was tiring, but I liked what I was working on. But yeah, I had those two other ideas and I didn't love them. And basically, kind of in the background, I had the Box Assassin idea, and I was like, I think this could kind of hit the sweet spot as far as like what I want to do, what I want to make. And I got a lot of help from faculty and like friends and mentors on just like refining the story and refining everything to get it where it is today. But it was the actual idea, it was something I pulled from like back in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like I was going through my Google Drive and I found like this old Google Doc that was like ideas or like something. And it was from like 2016. I was like,
Oh my
what's this? I
God.
was like, let's look at this. And it was mostly just stupid stuff, but in there was like, I had like written this like really like short little thing. I was like, oh, it's about this guy and like his family's murdered, and then he gets revenge on the like the mobster boss that killed them by like hiding himself in a box and like killing the mob boss. And I was like, okay. And I like pitched that to people, and they're like, this is great. And I was like, really? I was like, it's kind of weird, you know? And but you know, again, like I said, everyone's like, you know, like actually this could be something interesting. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then I started to toy with the idea more. And just through iterations, it became something I really, really loved and enjoyed working on. So it's weird how that works out. It's like I had no idea at the beginning of that semester of school that like this is what I would be working on.
Yeah.
But just putting your head down and working and brainstorming and working with people and throwing out ideas, I got to something that I absolutely loved working on. So I think that's a good testament to just being very vulnerable with your work and open, because it's like, yeah, it was like an old stupid idea, and I wasn't sure how much merit it had, but it ended up being something I really liked. So
That's so cool.
Something good to keep in mind. Yeah.
Wow. So you were saying that, so you did the whole thing, right? Apart from the
Right.
music, is that?
Apart from the music and the sound design, correct? Yeah. And the voice acting, I didn't do the voices. I hired voice actors for that. So.
Oh wow. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about the process? You hired voice actors and so you got the music composed especially for the film, was it?
Correct, yeah. So,
Wow.
like I said, I raised like $3,000 on Kickstarter, and
Yep.
so I kind of had pre-production. Like I had like a first pass at animation at that point. I had
Yeah.
the story kind of fleshed out, so I was able to share with people like, this is the project I'm working on, and like I'd like to raise this much money to hire a sound designer and a composer and voice actors. And so I also had like, I talked to the composer, sound designer, and voice actors like how much money they'd like to be paid and all that. So I kind of figured out the logistics. But for voice actors, it was tough. That was a tough part of the film because there's,
Yeah.
I think three people I hired. Yeah, there's the Craig, the pizza boy, the box assassin, and then the boss. And then the voice,
Yeah.
like in the beginning, the other friend he's talking to is me. But all the other people I hired. And so, like finding the main character, it was like Craig. He's like pizza delivery boy. Like he's young and he's black. And I was like, that is kind of, there's not many, like, there's a lot of websites online for voice actors, but most of them, like, I could not find any for Craig, like, no younger, because I wanted to cast a young, like, teenage, like, early 20s, like, black guy, and I could not find anyone. And so I looked on all these websites, and finally I was like, I'm going to try LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, I searched voice actors, and I just went down, like, profile pictures, and I was like, oh, here we go. And his name is Jonathan Miles.
Wow.
He's really great. I reached out to him. He was super excited about the project, and it was just perfect. He was great. Like he was super excited. Like he recorded so many takes and stuff for everything.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool way. I found a voice actor, but the other voice actors I found on like voices.com, and it's cool because you can send out your script, and then they can read it off for you as like a test audition.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of got to listen to a bunch of different takes, and then I got to choose, who I'd like to actually be the voice. And then for the sound designer and the composer, what I did is I went to a film that I really liked, which is called Agent 327. I don't know if you've heard of that film.
No, I haven't.
It was made by Blender. They made this short film.
Okay.
And so I just went to the film, and I went to the credits, and I found the composer and the sound designer. And I was
Oh my
like, I'm going to
God.
reach out. Yeah, so I was like, I'll reach out to these two guys.
Good work.
And it's Vijay Virput and Sander Hootman. And those were the two guys. I emailed them on their websites, and they both, I think originally I emailed Vijay, the composer, and he was like, I told him, I was like, I found you through this short film. He's like, you want me to ask like the sound designer if he wants to work on it too? I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's wicked.
And so, yeah, it was super cool. It just kind of came together in a really great way. But yeah, for all of that, I had to do a lot of searching and just kind of research. But I think that's another part of just like, if you're going to make your own film, like it definitely is good to put in that little extra work to find, voice actors or maybe a composer. And obviously it costs money, so it's tough. But if you're able to raise the money or something, it's a really cool experience to be able to work with other professionals.
I can imagine. Like,
Yeah.
just out of my own curiosity, like, how did it sort of progress? Did the music come first, or did did you animate to the music, or other way around?
So like for the music and like kind of everything, I just, from like storyboards, I have a temp version. And so originally all the voices are just my own voice. I was just like doing like iterations, and so that kind of helped me write the film and find the dialogue
Yeah.
and all that. And so originally I just used like my own voice, and then I had just yeah like temp music. I didn't get the final music, like we were working on it like passes, but that wasn't towards like closer to the end of the film. So I mean I was mostly working with like I used like a track from Django Unchained as like temp music, then just like other stuff I found online. And I just used that as like a base, as like inspiration. And that helped going into the process too, of talking with the composer. Because I remember like in the middle of the film, like once the fighting starts, once he jumps out of the box and they start fighting and stuff, that's when there's like a kind of an upbeat song. And it was good to have the temp music because I kind of had a reference point. And so Vijay did something and it was a little too like heroic and like spy-like. And I was like, I want to keep it fun. I was like, there's kind of like a jazz, like hip hop like feel, and so I referenced that. And so it was good to have the temp music, kind of like us as visual artists, we have visual references. I think it's good too when you're working with like a sound designer or composer to have something to give them that just gives them a jumping off point. So you're not just like, oh, make something that sounds like cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, okay. And then they'll do something, and then you're like, that's not what I wanted.
That's not what I want.
Yeah, so it's just good. It was good for me to have the reference, so we could kind of because also I don't know how to talk in music language. Like I don't know how to speak that, and so it was good to have a reference, that I can pull from it and we can talk about. So having something like that early on was definitely important. If I just had nothing, I think it would have been a lot worse. So yeah.
What would you say was the most challenging component of your film, putting it together?
That's a tough question. I think it really goes back to pre-production.
Yeah.
Because that was
I agree.
honestly, my biggest concern and worry. Like I said, I had two other stories and they both kind of worked. Like they were fine. Like I could have done those things. But again, for me, I was like, I have to be excited about the film. I have to stay up till 2 a.m. and still like kind of like what I'm working on when I'm tired, and so I think that was the biggest thing is just getting something that I really am going to be excited about and I'm really going to want to work on. And so once I got past that hurdle, it wasn't easy, but it was definitely like I have a foundation, I have this blueprint of something that I'm going towards, and I felt a lot more comfortable after that.
Yeah.
But I'd say that initial process is the most scary, but also it's really exciting. That's when you get to play around with ideas.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think pre-production would be the most challenging part of the film.
No, pre-production is definitely really important. It's kind of easy to sort of miss it and skip it a little bit because you just want to get straight to working on it. But like, yeah, I can totally imagine. So Jeremy, just a little bit about yourself. Now that you're working in the industry, do you have any other hobbies at home outside of work, or do you still do drawing and stuff?
That's a good question. I got to find time to like figure out what I want to do. But also, I like what I do a lot. So any hobbies that I have, I did get a 3D printer like a couple months after graduation because for the Kickstarter thing, like there's Kickstarter rewards. And so I was doing like little 3D prints of the character to like give to people and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So that's really exciting. But I don't know, like I really like just art, film in general. So like any hobbies or stuff that I do outside, I think of like animation. It's still kind of related to it.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, like even before I got into filmmaking, like I played basketball. Like I have other things that I enjoy and whatnot. But I don't know. There's just so much inside of art. Like I sometimes like something that I do is go to like a hobby store or something and pick up like little like crafts or like little like miniature kits. Like I picked up one at home. It was like a Star Wars like TIE fighter kit, and like it's a plastic model, and then you can like paint it. And so like for me, like it's something really like
that sounds fun.
Yeah, but it's like relaxing. Like you put it together in like 15 minutes and paint it, and I'm like, okay, like that just kind of like relaxes me. Just it's calming. But I don't know. I like a lot of stuff in art and film, so I feel like there's so much to explore. I just try to play around with all that stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I think we're out of time now, Jeremy, anyway. It looks like we're up. But
Okay,
no,
yeah.
thank you so much for meeting with me today and for having a chat. I've been really excited about this interview. So yeah, just stay in touch, and if you need anything from the rookies or feel free to reach out. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I'm super happy to be here today, and yeah, thank you again for, you guys putting on the contest. Like, it's super cool. And like I told you earlier, like I've met a lot of people online, like other students, and made connections from it. So it's a great platform, and I hope you all, keep doing the contest because I think it's a really great thing. So yeah.
Awesome. No, so good. I'm so excited to continue to follow you and follow your journey and see what you come up with next. So well done.
Awesome.
Truly.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. See you later.
Yeah. All right.